Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Today's topic is generosity. So, how does generosity fit in with the other nine attitudes? And first of all, what is generosity? So, we've kind of been exploring what the nine attitudes are. It it leans into the other attitudes. So generosity can at times get tangled in guilt and people pleasing and burnout. So we'll talk a little bit about that today as well, and just understand what generosity is not and the kind of traps that people might fall into with generosity. To know that generosity that comes from a place of tightening and of holding back isn't really you know I think one of the most important things about mindfulness practice is how we are changing ourselves as we do our practice. And so really the most generous thing you can really do is to work on yourself, is to make yourself a better person so that all of the interactions that you have with the world are going to naturally be better interactions. That, in fact, you'll discover if you work on yourself and you make yourself a better person, that the generosity is completely effortless, that the positive benefit that you have on the world around you is going to naturally happen. So as you become a better person, as you are less stressed, for example, you're going to have better interactions with people around you. That it's more likely that when something difficult happens, when something rises up, instead of snapping and getting angry and shouting, or maybe you've been working on anxiety. So instead of having all of these reactions, instead we have responses that we can add a little bit of our cognition into, instead of just reacting blindly without any interference with the brain. Instead, we have some room to see what's going on, and we can't help but make things better around us. And so really that is kind of at the heart of generosity, is this kind of self-improvement. And so when I say it's the icing on the cake, it's kind of like, what kind of intentional generosity can we give? So, I mean, there's the unintentional part of generosity, which is this: we become better, and because of that, we make things better around us. But what about intentional things? What can we potentially give back? So, not as something that we do, not just as something we do, but let's look at generosity as a way of moving through the world. So what is generosity? Generosity is simply put, the willingness to give, the natural impulse to share what we have without needing to calculate what we get back. So just say it one more time. It is the impulse to share what we have without needing to calculate what we get back. In mindfulness, generosity isn't just about big donations or heroic acts. It's about this moment by moment readiness to soften, to offer something helpful, and to say yes when it's wise to say yes. So the feeling, maybe there's a feeling that's involved with generosity. Could be like an inner warmth, a kind of loosening around the heart space, the sense that there is enough for me to share what I have. And like I said, that's kind of coming on top of gratitude. So gratitude is this recognizing what it is that I do have. Generosity is in that recognition. Is it possible for me to see what it is that I have, what kind of abundance that I have that I can share with those around me? And I think maybe one of the most important things to know is that generosity isn't just about monetary or material gifts. And I think sometimes we get kind of caught up in that as that this is kind of the default way to give. I mean, obviously, the holidays are coming. It's December 11th here in Singapore. So, we've been having some discussions in the household what to be giving for our kids and for our parents and for, our loved ones and those around us. And it's easy this time of year to kind of get caught up in that material giving. And, and what's that like when it's, the holidays coming and we don't have, it's like, I don't feel like I have any choice about it. Like, because this is the date, the day is circled on the calendar. Like, this is the day that I have to give. And so because of that kind of forced giving, we may not feel as generous as we would at other times. So, this the timing is kind of appropriate as well. And we'll see today as well how it folds into, or how it comes together with the rest of the 9 attitudes. And so how does generosity pair with non-judging? How does generosity pair with beginner's mind? And so this other piece here, as we get rolling into our practice today, notice, what does it feel like as we intentionally practice a little bit of generosity in our meditation today? What physical sensation do you notice? Does it feel like warmth? Does it feel like loosening? Does it feel like a sense of abundance? Just notice that as we go through our meditation today. And so let's talk about what generosity is not for a moment. So generosity is not self-erasure. It's not becoming the doormat. It's not about disappearing, because that's what we feel like we need to do. It's not ignoring our own needs or breaking down our own boundaries to keep everybody else happy. And I think that's an important one to notice, because from my experience here on Insight Timer, I've met a lot of people pleasers. And so, mindfulness is also about being aware of when we have the propensity to do people pleasing. So it's not saying, and what is people pleasing, right? It's often saying yes out of fear. And, fear of conflict, fear of being disliked, fearing of not being good enough. And that's not what generosity is. It's not about saying yes out of fear. It's generosity is not only about money, only about material things. Many of the most powerful forms of generosity have nothing at all to do with money. They involved attention, patience, listening, or sometimes a kind word, holding space for another person, being a listening ear in those times, being generous with my time. And what does generosity look like in that? Is, can we be aware of our tendency to want to fix and to want to give advice? In the generosity of space, noticing our own desire to be less generous by focusing on me. I mean, that is one of the things that tends to happen as we listen to others, is that wanting to relate it to myself and then say all of the things that I remember about this situation that happened to me. And that's something that that fortunately, as my meditation practice has deepened, it's become a lot easier to listen and become this listening ear. And what's interesting too is that the more you listen, the more people feel comfortable opening up to you. So the more you listen, the more listening you'll probably do. And as well, knowing boundaries, knowing when I'm having empathic overload and I can't do it anymore. So, even listening has a need to set boundaries sometimes, even in the face of, fear of being disliked, fear of not being there, being good enough, remembering that taking care of ourselves is important. You can't fill up the cup of others if the cup that you're pouring from is empty. So generosity isn't about gritting your teeth and resenting it. If you do notice that happening, that's your signal to pause. Mindful generosity is honest and includes honesty about your limits. So generosity isn't a be nice at all costs. It's more like meet yourself in this moment with openness and care, with wisdom, including care for yourself. So how does generosity link with the other 9 attitudes? So with non-judging, generosity is seeing where the mind tightens. Sometimes what we might say in the context of non-judging, they don't deserve this. This is a waste of time. Stuff like that, it shows up sometimes when we want to be generous. Non-judging lets us notice those thoughts instead of automatically obeying them. Patience. Sometimes the most generous thing to do with someone's discomfort is just being patient instead of trying to rush to fix it. Beginner's mind. We can see this person freshly instead of the one that always does this, and that can help us soften. Trust. Generosity includes a kind of trust. Trust that if I give here, I will still be okay. Trust that I don't need total control. And non-striving. If I turn generosity into a self-improvement project, it turns into I must become more generous, and I tighten again. Non-striving lets generosity be natural and an expression instead of yet another task to do. Acceptance says we can be generous towards this moment that we don't like by allowing it to be instead of fighting it. And gratitude sees what's already here. Generosity is the movement that flows out of that. And when we feel resourced, giving becomes easier. So gratitude says, and I guess I'll just kind of close the 9 attitudes on this. Gratitude says, look how much is already supporting me. And generosity says, let some of that goodness move through me to others. So I see what's already here. I see what's already supporting me. And I know that all of this that's here, and of course, gratitude comes from a place that we don't have to, everything doesn't have to be perfect and beautiful and rosy all the time. It's just that in the midst of the full catastrophe of my life, some things are going right. And as I look at those things that are going right, I can see that actually there's space for me to give out of this. There's more abundance here than I realized. And because of that, I can also give partially of that to everybody else. So we may tend to have a scarcity mind. We talked about how our ancestors have the negativity bias. We talked about that last time in gratitude, because that's what helped our ancestors survive. Scarcity mind helped our ancestors survive. And so what we can do as generosity is recognize that mind that we have that says that we don't have enough. So our mind often will have this not enough mind, let's call it. Not enough time, not enough love, not enough energy, not enough credit. And so that script can be loud and generosity feels dangerous. Whereas the abundance mind isn't pretending everything's perfect. It's noticing that there is enough for now, enough breath, enough support, enough kindness for me to act in one small act. But okay, Blissful Light says, but what about when not enough is true? Well, you listen to that. I mean, that's the beauty of this, right? That's the beauty of the mindful awareness of that. When not enough is true, that's when we have space for ourselves. And so we don't have to worry about this, feeling guilty or feeling tightness when we want to give. I mean, that's the sign. That's the sign to pay attention to ourselves. And I think that feeling of tightness and not enoughness is that kind of warning sign, right? Is that you can't give from an empty cup. And so recognize, and by the way, all of us have some fullness somewhere in our lives if we just take the time and effort to look for it. So generosity can be in the form of material, it can be in the form of time and attention. It can be generosity of words, sincere appreciation, recognizing, sharing gratitude. I appreciate that you did this. Offering encouragement without sugarcoating it. I see how hard you're trying. Generosity of space. And, I think we don't think about this last one. Generosity towards yourself. Because that's real too. That counts as generosity. Rest when you need it. Let yourself be imperfect. Speak to yourself in the same tone that you'd use with a dear friend. And we'll go through that as we do our meditation today. So let's go ahead and get into our meditation. So get comfortable. And, as I do with, if you've taken the course, if you've ever sat with me when talking about generosity, I think you know what kind of meditation it is that we do here, and that's a loving kindness meditation. So this meditation is a little different from typical standard out-of-the-box mindfulness. So mindfulness is just paying attention to how things are right now, what's going on inside of my body and my mind, in the space of my senses and my thoughts and feelings and emotions. Whereas we'll start with that as the foundation, and then we'll begin to move into some potentially imagery, some words and phrases that we can use to help ourselves begin to incline our minds towards generosity. After all, that is what meditation means, is what it is. In Pali, the language of the Buddha, the word for meditation is bhavana, which means cultivation, right? In Tibetan, the word for meditation is gom, and that means to habituate. And so that's what we're doing. We're cultivating our garden with the garden of our mind, with this inclination towards, we're planting seeds of generosity here as we meditate. We're practicing mental generosity so that we can habituate the mind towards generosity. So get comfortable. That can mean, whatever is comfortable for you. Could be lying down. It could be sitting up straight. And so I just want to invite you to check into the body. This body that's sitting here right now, lying here right now. What sensations do you find? Do you find tightness? Do you find sleepiness? And so based on what you're finding in your mind and in your body now, just choosing what posture to use. And then starting to tune into various areas of the body. So let's start with the head. Feeling the crown of the head, the scalp, the forehead, the eyebrows, the space between the eyebrows. Do you feel tightness anywhere in the body? Especially here in this region. It often tends to scrunch up and get tight when we're feeling uncomfortable or stressed. How about the muscles around the eyes? How about the area around the ears? The cheeks? The jaw? Sometimes we find, without even realizing it, that our teeth have begun to clench. So if you notice that, is it possible to just drop your jaw a little bit so there's a space between the upper teeth and the lower teeth? Notice the neck. The shoulders, another place where our bodies may hold tension. The upper back. The lower back. And now moving to the chest. So these days, scientifically, we think of our consciousness maybe being in our heads. Well, our ancestors thought it was in the chest. And a lot of practitioners do sometimes still think that the soul resides here. And maybe one of the reasons is that the feeling of emotions arises in the chest a lot. What do you feel in the chest today? So notice the sensations in the chest right now. It may be possible to notice how that sensation connects with what emotion you're feeling. And now moving down to the abdomen. And so whenever I get to my abdomen, the first thing I notice is the movement as I breathe. Noticing inside the abdomen, feelings of the stomach, the intestines, the internal organs. And so maybe you can map your emotions into the intestines as well. I mean, certainly fear maps to my abdomen. I can feel the cold sensation in my gut, the nausea sometimes that comes with fear. So anger, when it comes to these emotions we may think of as negative, anger for me is usually showing up as a tightness and a burning in the chest and in the face. Fear is down in the abdomen. And so the idea here is to just notice what physical sensations you're having in the region of the chest and the abdomen. And just kind of using that as a guide, pointing you to what your emotional state may be today. And I'd just like to invite you, if you'd like, to place your right hand across your chest and your left hand on your belly. And so let's just take a few moments to notice what it feels like to be right here, right now, breathing. Just feel that expansion as you breathe in. A release as you breathe out. Not trying to control the breath or force it, just noticing what's here right now already. And so let's take a moment to notice what's going right. Number one, I am breathing. One of the most basic things of life that we sometimes forget. I'm breathing. I'm alive. And I'm not hooked up to a ventilator. I can do it on my own. And what else is going right? Friends, family, people supporting you, a place to live, food to eat, maybe some material abundance. Just whatever it is that's going right, just notice that and try to bring a little gratitude for that. It could be as simple as this breath. And notice, what does gratitude feel like in the body? How do things change? What shifts when we begin to bring gratitude? And so now we're going to shift into the part of this practice where we begin to offer some well wishes. And so this, I feel, is the easiest way to practice generosity. So let's start with ourselves. And a key point here is if you work on this part on yourself and you find that it's hard, you can feel free to stay here. You don't have to begin to be generous with others. And so what would it be like if you could love yourself unconditionally right now as you are in this moment? And maybe even offer that sentence to yourself. I love you just as you are. And you don't need to be any different. What does that feel like? And so if you like, you can repeat after me, offering some well wishes to yourself. May I be happy and content. May I be happy and content. May I be safe and protected, free from inner and outer harm. May I be safe and free from harm. May I be healthy and whole to whatever degree is possible. May I be healthy and whole. May I be at peace. May I be at ease. May I be at peace. And so now what does that feel like? Offering these generous wishes to yourself. And so now, can you bring someone else into your mind? Could be someone who's close to you, someone for whom well wishes come naturally. Could be someone a little bit more challenging. So just letting that person, that face, appear in your mind. In fact, you can even imagine that they're here with you. Sometimes that feeling of presence of another can really help to make this practice feel more real. And so here they are, offering well wishes to this person, whomever they might be. May you be happy and contented. May you be safe and protected. May you be healthy and whole to whatever degree is possible. May you be at peace. May you have ease of well-being. And so it doesn't have to be limited to a single person. You can actually have a whole group, a huge group of people. It could even be everyone in the entire world, or it could be everyone on this live event right now. It could be your family. It could be all of your friends and family. So let's try this generous practice with a group of people. And again, if you aren't ready, you can always stay with this object of self. May I be happy. So if you feel comfortable, may they be happy and contented. May they be safe and protected and free from harm. May they be healthy and whole to whatever degree is possible. May they be at peace. May they be at ease. And so now, just want to invite you to come back to the body, come back to the chest, to the abdomen. Now what do you feel? So notice the breathing. Has the pace of the breath changed? Have the feelings in the chest or the abdomen changed? So what is here now? How has this simple form of generosity affected you? And maybe there's no noticeable effect. That's okay too. So well done, everybody. Congratulations on making it through today's practice. I'm going to close practice with 3 rings of the bell. Thank you, everyone. How'd it go? What did you notice? Did you notice a shift in the region of the chest, in the face, in the abdomen? Or maybe this practice was really hard for you and you didn't want to do it. You found a lot of resistance. What was it? What happened? What came up? Kay says, calmer in the mind. Feel free to write in the chat and let me know. Let us know. And, it's hard to do a generosity without saying, hey, if you're feeling extra generous today, you can always make a donation. The best way for you to help me, of course, is to follow me on Insight Timer if you don't already. If you're a Plus member, take my 9 Attitudes of Mindfulness course, the 9th attitude, which is generosity. That's the best way to help. Mine didn't believe it, a difficult day. Thanks, Blissful Light, for sharing. And I wish you all the best. When I was doing this practice just now, as I lead the meditation, I'm with you. When I was doing all of that external part, it was you. I was sending my well wishes to you, and I felt I felt lighter. I felt an opening in my chest. And I felt a lightness in my abdomen as well. So I really hope all of you have a great day and have a great life, I wish you ease. I wish you happiness. I wish you're safe and healthy. And, I'm certainly not a teacher on Insight Timer because it's the way to get rich. It really is. This is it's a vehicle for my own generosity. I love sharing these teachings. I love sharing what I've learned, and I think that there's a lot of benefit to these practices, and it just makes me feel happy to be able to share. Sybil says, I brought someone to mind I don't usually, and it was good. Thanks. Thanks, Tea Lady Nat, for your well wishes and feeling comforted. Thank you. All right. I'm shifting. I haven't posted my next live events yet, but I have been working on them. So just because I've been coming from these retreats, I've been reading books on Zen, and so that's kind of what I want to do, is shift into topics about Zen from a secular perspective. So that's going to be the topics coming up. I'll probably post them later today or tomorrow. So look out for them when they come. Just as usual, it's on Tuesday, Thursday morning if you're here in Asia or in Australia, New Zealand. If you're in North America, that tends to be, or North or South America, or in Europe, that tends to be Monday and Wednesday night. So look out for those as those are coming. And I look forward to seeing you next time as we start to, uncover that very first piece. Like, hey, what is Zen? And, what about it? What's Zen? I mean, I really think that's kind of the very first thing for us to talk about. And, how is it applicable to my life if I'm, from a secular perspective, if I'm not Buddhist? How does, what is useful about Zen? Thank you, Rachel. Thanks so much for your intention of generosity. That it means a lot. So feel free to come back and check it out. I'll be back. Here, I'll just pop my course up one more time. And so let's close our practice with some intentional well wishes to ourselves one more time, and to each other, and to the whole world. So follow along with me if you like. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. May everyone around the world, all human beings, all sentient life, may we all be happy and peaceful. Thanks again, everyone. I appreciate you, Jason. I appreciate all of you here today. I wish you all the best. Until next time. Bye-bye.